Now, let's pick up on what our Yoon Jung-min just said. The damage in global supply chain due to this Tokyo's export restrictions on Seoul. We have an expert online joining us live on the phone is Rajiv BISWAS, Chief Economist at IHS Markit. Rajiv, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure.
Now, while South Korean tech giants such as Samsung Electronics, SK Hynix, and LG Display are likely to be hit hardest by this move in the shorter term, you've said that Japan may suffer in the long term. As such, companies will be forced to rethink their reliance on Japanese parts. So give us a little details on that. Elaborate, please.
The decision by the Japanese government to impose export controls on some critical materials required by South Korea's electronics industry is forcing South Korean companies to reconfigure their global manufacturing supply chain to reduce their vulnerability to Japanese exports. So over the next 12 to 18 months, this could result in some trade diversion away from Japanese sourcing towards other suppliers from either other countries or from within Korea. And this will be negative in the medium to long term for Japanese firms exporting to Korea.
Right. Tokyo, I'm sure you're aware, said it plans to strip South Korea off some preferential treatment in its trade ties with Japan. Now, such a move, which is expected by August, would involve removing South Korea from a white list of countries deemed trustworthy by Japan. What would that mean for South Korea and Japan? I mean, this would affect many, many more items.
If Japan decides to remove South Korea from its white list, this will significantly increase the number of products that will be subject to export controls and could significantly increase the disruption to South Korea's manufacturing supply chain. So it could potentially create delays in the pipeline of products coming from Japan for many different South Korean industries. The number of products that could be affected is estimated to be over 800 products. So this will significantly increase the trade frictions and further increase the need for South Korean firms to diversify away from Japanese sourcing.
There have been reports that there could be a contagion effect. Can the U.S. and China also feel the pain, given that both countries rely on supplies from South Korea?
South Korea is a major global supplier of memory chips, and both the U.S. and China are major importers of memory chips from South Korea. And memory chips are essential for many electronics products, ranging from smartphones to laptops and many consumer electronic goods. So if there is a significant disruption in supply to South Korea's manufacturing supply chain, the contagion effects will not only be to South Korea's electronics sector, but could affect the entire global electronics industry, depending on the extent of any shortages that are created.
Right. So, as an economist who's been specializing in this part of the world for decades, in your view, how can this issue be resolved?
I think the only way forward is negotiation and compromise. Japan and South Korea are two of the biggest economies in the Asia-Pacific region, and obviously the electronic supply chain is very important for many different industries across the world. So I think moving further towards the path of trade war and escalating trade frictions is not a good way forward, clearly, especially because South Korea and Japan are key for further trade cooperation at a multilateral level in the Asia-Pacific region. So I think the only way forward has to be compromise and negotiation and a reduction of these trade frictions.
All right, absolutely. Rajiv BISWAS, Chief Economist at IHS Markit in Hong Kong. Many thanks for speaking with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.